entitled DAV, Disabled American Veterans on the Move. I'm your co-host, Mark Golub. My colleague here, Arthur Keane, works with me, and we're happy to welcome two special guests today. To my immediate left is Lieutenant Colonel Robert Driscoll, and to his left is Mr. Jim Keane, both of whom serve on the Melrose Veterans Board. Gentlemen, it's nice to have you with us.
Nice to have you with us.
Wonderful being here with you guys.
Colonel?
Thank you very much.
And because we have a lot of questions with these two gentlemen, we'll begin. Bob, you have a very impressive military resume that covers about 20 years of your outstanding service. In 2015, former Melrose Mayor Rob Dolan appointed you to serve as the chairman of that city's Veterans Advisory Board. I've also been made aware that you have a civilian job as a member of the Melrose Fire Department, and you serve as the secretary treasurer of its union. So my first question to you, sir, is how have you managed to balance both of these big responsibilities and be successful in each one?
It's quite a balancing act, actually, and but I'm very, very fortunate to have the support of my family, because if I didn't, I would not be able to do any of these different roles. So I'm also fortunate enough with my schedule on the fire department that frees up some time to allow me to do the different volunteer work that I do, to serve in the Massachusetts Air National Guard that I do, and also to do the work of our labor union. So I'm very fortunate to have the support not only of my family, but the members of my unit, the members of my department, and the members of the Veterans Board. So it's a great support system that I have that allows me to do what I do, but the success of each one is due to the members of each group. They're the true success stories.
So you never make a mistake like putting out fires at the advisory board, anything like that?
I have driven and started heading to the wrong area for a meeting, so I've done that, trying to keep myself straight. No, I have a great team in every area, so I'm very lucky.
That's terrific. Thank you. Arthur, you have a question?
Yes, I have it for you, Bob. Yeah. What is the Melrose Veterans Advisory Board, and what are your functions and responsibility as chairman?
So the Veterans Advisory Board was actually put together in 2005 by Mayor Dolan. He realized after September 11th there was a lot of veterans that are going to be returning to the city of Melrose due to the Iraq, Afghanistan, and the population of veterans that were already in the city. So he put together the Veterans Advisory Board to advise him on all issues regarding veterans. So we work with the Veteran Service Officer in that office, and we'll look at what are the needs of veterans in the city, what issues do they want us to address. So what we'll do is we hold many different events during the year to address those. So we've had, for veterans that are hungry in the city, we've done food drives with the supermarkets in the city and filled the food pantries for the veterans. We also, on the third Wednesday of the month, we have a veterans market where the Greater Boston Food Bank will deliver food to Memorial Hall and we'll distribute it to veterans. So we look at feeding the veterans. We've had job fairs at Memorial Hall with our state legislators, Paul Broder, and he's helped us sponsor job fairs to employ the veterans. So we look at what the needs are, and we also have a town hall meeting in Melrose with, we open it up, all the veterans in the city can attend, and they tell us what issues are important to them, what they want us to work on for that coming year. So we do that usually in February. In October, we'll meet with our state legislators. Jim is the head of our legislative arm, and we'll meet with the legislators to talk about legislation that will also help the veterans community in our city.
Question, you do so much for the veterans as far as helping them out, getting them food and other things. Does any of the merchants supply you with money or food as other cities do?
So we have a very supportive business community. We have a supermarket that bends over backwards to help us out. We have other, we have a funeral director who has buried many a poor veteran and eaten the cost himself, and he'll also do several fundraisers during the year to raise money for the veterans. So we're very fortunate to have a supportive business community. We have a zero budget from the city, so we rely on the generosity of our community and our business owners, and they answer the call every time.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Bob. Jim, Mr. Keane.
Yes, sir.
I'm aware that you are a Vietnam veteran, and thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Would you please tell our viewing audience about yourself, what got you interested in serving on the Melrose Veterans Advisory Board, and what your responsibilities are on the board?
As background, after college, I joined the Navy and was in Officer Candidate School down in Newport, Rhode Island for a while, and then I was aboard ship. And then I went to Vietnam for a year of service with the River Patrol Force, and then to shore duty. I remained in the reserves for a couple of years while I went back to law school on the GI Bill. I'm going to say about 8 or 10 years ago, I saw an announcement in the local Melrose paper looking for advisory board members. And given my background in law and given my background as a veteran, I thought I could be of some service to the community. The niche I've fallen into is basically examining the pending legislation that is intended for support of veterans and seeing if we can't get it updated and expanded. We've gotten enormous support from Senator Jason Lewis and our Representative Paul Broder. Just in 2016, an educational benefit was extended to all families of veterans or of surviving members of veterans that were killed since 1974. There was a Vietnam educational bill that had not been updated since '74. And with the help of Senator Lewis and Paul Broder, that has been amended to bring it forward, giving them these children of deceased veterans killed in the line of duty. We've also at this time have about 8 measures before the legislature to update grants to get them up to present value, and a number of other measures in order to improve veterans' lives. That's basically where falling into those that niche. But I should add something. The city of Melrose also has us tasked with taking care of the monuments in Melrose. And I have to tell you this, that basically it's a sad truth that the most common municipal structure in any New England city or town are war memorials, not buildings called City Hall, and not schools named after presidents, but war memorials. And we're tasked with taking care of those, number one. But number two is we recognize that our first duty is to the living, to both the veterans and the veterans' families and those Gold Star families of veterans. So that's where our focus is, and we're chipping away at it.
Well, that's good. You know, on the radio many years ago, there was a program called Mr. Keane, Trace of Lost
Yes, sir.
Persons. Do you recall them?
I remember it quite well.
I was wondering if maybe you were Mr. Keane, but
Well, no.
no.
No, I remember the radio show very well, sir.
Okay. Arthur, we have time before our break for you to ask Bob another.
I'd like to ask Lieutenant Colonel Bob Driscoll a question. Why is it a Veteran Advisory Board important to veterans? Why is it so important to veterans?
Thank you for the question, Arthur. It's important to the veterans so that we're able to be their advocate as to the issues that they're dealing with. One of the other things that Jim had mentioned, the memorials, and we do a lot of work on the memorials. Across the street from our middle school, we have what's called the Knoll, and we are in the process. We had a 10-year plan to put memorials in the Knoll and upgrade it, and we're continuing the work on that project. But I want to say one of the biggest success stories we have had is to educate our young in Melrose and our students as to what our veterans have done and the contributions they've made so that the students can live the lives they live. So what we've done is we work with a teacher at the high school, Lisa Lord, who runs the Melrose Veterans Memory Project, which is a group of high school students. We also work with the 8th grade students, and for the past 8 years, working with the 8th grade students, we've raised money, and we've done that through different community events like a Chili Chowder Fest and different other fundraising events to raise the money to bring different groups of veterans to Washington to see the memorials. So this year we just returned 2 weeks ago. We were in Washington with a group of Afghanistan vets, and we're able to take them around to see all the different memorials. But the whole thing is to educate the children that these veterans did the same thing they did. They went to the same schools, they hung out the same places, and then they went on to do extraordinary things in uniform. So it's a great addition to what we've done, is educating the students and getting them involved.
It's wonderful that you educate the students. It's sad when I have a parade in Malden and we see so many students not in school because it's a holiday. And we ask them, why aren't you in school today? It's a holiday, Memorial Day or Veterans Day. What is it for? They don't know. They don't teach them in school like you're teaching the kids what a veteran is, what it is to serve the community. But it's nice that you do that, because a lot of cities don't do it, and a lot of people don't watch the parade anymore. They don't know why there is a parade. They just know they have a day off from school. So that's a great job you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. I'm going to change the question that I had here, because this program is being recorded the day before the weekend for Memorial Day exercises. And Jim, I'd like you to share with us what the city of Melrose is going to do to remember our veterans that day.
The Melrose Advisory Board, in conjunction with the Veterans Officer, has a number of activities set for Memorial Day. We start off at about 10 o'clock in the morning at Memorial Hall with a coffee, and then we're across the street is our World War II monument with the names of about 100 Melrosians who died in World War II. From there, there'll be a prayer and taps for those men. Then over to the Vietnam Memorial, where we have 11 Vietnam dead, and there'll be a service there. And then on to the Knoll, which is our most dedicated veterans site, for services at the World War II Memorial. We lost 32 in World War I. We lost, I think, about 20, or as I said, 100 in World War II. And Korea, I think, about 12. There'll be services at all those places, wreaths laid and remembrances done. And then we'll have a parade in the afternoon starting at 1:30 in downtown Melrose, which is quite festive, as a matter of fact. I really enjoy it. It's really a terrific time. But more than anything else, I think the services at the sites, the various memorials, are the memorable part. That someone once said that if they're not forgotten, then they're not truly gone. Okay, and that's what we're striking for, that they're not gone.
Thank you, Jim. It's time for our break. There'll be some public service announcements coming up, and we'll be back with Bob and Jim shortly. I was afraid I might have thrown a curveball.
No.
Nothing Jim can't handle.
Yeah, right. You sound like
Willie Ortiz is a real MATV viewer, not an actor. So to help tell his story, we got a couple of MATV celebrities.
My life was so ho-hum. I had nothing going on.
Life had no spice, no flavor.
Then I started watching MATV.
Now he's cooking with gas. Yeah.
Now I can learn about a ton of new things, from Malden's current events to wrestling, Indian dance, and I'm even learning new recipes.
The stochastic nature of the programming totally blew me away.
Is that a scientific term?
Yeah, it kind of means random.
Now I have a whole new lease on life, thanks to MATV, where members make it happen.
Dove I soci contribuiscono.
What she said.
Yeah.
MATV, Malden's Media Center.
The next question that Arthur has for Bob.
Yes, Bob, how much longer do you intend to be in the service, and what plans do you have once you have separated from it?
So, that's a very good question. It's been bouncing around my head the past year. I joined the military when I was 22. I've been doing this for 34 years now. I haven't been doing anything else longer than that besides breathe. So I'm meeting the Colonel's Board in August, so that will determine where the rest of my career will go. But I'll be turning 56 this summer, and then 4 more years, and they'll retire me whether I want to or not. So I always said I won't do it anymore if I'm not having fun. And I continue to have fun. These group of young people that are coming into the military now are so impressive, and I'm honored to continue to wear the uniform and to spread my knowledge to them and mentor them to take over when I do retire. So we'll see, and maybe in a couple more years I'll be sitting here with you guys and asking questions.
Well, you've been doing this since you were 22, over 30 years now, and I hope you stay in the military in some function, because you deserve a lot of credit for keeping us aware of what's going on in the U.S. services. So keep up the good work, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
And we thank Jim for his long-time service to the Veterans Board, because it provides stability, consistency, and always keep an eye out for the future while remembering the past.
Yes, sir.
I forgot to mention before the break, Jim shared with us the activities for Memorial Day weekend in Melrose, but there's an awful lot going on for our viewers in Everett and Malden here that you should take advantage of. Call your city government, and they should have a program list for you so that you can hopefully participate and move on from there. Jim, do you have any plans after you finish, if you do finish, with your time on the Veterans Board? Would you continue to help veterans and work with them?
My present plan is to stay on the board as long as I'm able to, number one. Number two is, as you gain more experience in the affairs, I should tell you this. In looking at veterans' problems and veterans' issues, if you step back for a moment, they're enormous. You're talking about health, housing, and you're talking about addiction right now. You're talking all sorts of. If you look at those enormous problems, they can be overwhelming if you just take it. But if, with age and experience, you realize that major problems, if attacked in increments and chipping away at them, can improve the situation. And veterans, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, or at the end of a project, if we're veterans in Melrose, veterans in this area, their lives are a little bit better, then you had a good day. You did something, you did the right thing. So that's what we're shooting for.
That's great. Arthur, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask I have a question.
Go right ahead,
Thank
Chairman.
you. There are many problems that face post-war veterans today. Arthur will tell you that he works at the Chelsea Soldiers Home. The amount of suicides that take place there and around the country for post-war veterans is incredible. There have been some, um, shall we say, disparaging comments about the VA hospitals, not here in Boston, but in other parts of the country. Uh, there are other problems that face veterans, such as retraining for the private areas of life and the like. Can your group do anything to help ameliorate these problems?
We're on the, trying to put together a suicide prevention program in Melrose with the focus on uh, early intervention with the families. In so many instances, veterans are in a great deal of denial about their need for counseling, their need for therapy, their need for intervention. But their families are not. Their families, the children at school, realize that their father, their brother, their cousin is behaving badly. Wives understand this. So the focus we'd like to see if we can put together is to focus on the clergymen in the community, the first responders, police and fire, emergency room technicians, and teachers in the high schools and the teachers in the schools to alert them when they're looking at these children, is there home life, is there a veteran in the house, and is there a problem, and is there intervention can be because I think the suicide rate is just abominable right now as far as veterans go. I think it's 20 a day, which is terrible.
That is terrible.
You know, but we're working on that, and we'll work on other programs to assist these veterans. And I fully appreciate it. You came back from Vietnam, and there's a great line from a Beatles song about "Help me get my feet back on the ground." Okay, and that's a returning veteran from a war situation, and you know, Mark, takes a little getting used to back in the real world. What's really going on? So that reorientation, that notion of helping them get their feet back on the ground is what we're about.
Thank you. That's right. Yeah, you would like to comment
Yeah,
on that?
I would like to, as I realize I'm surrounded by Vietnam veterans. As an Iraqi veteran, I would like to thank you gentlemen for the work that you've done that made my welcome home and my ability to reintegrate so much easier due to the hard work and that you all did. So from my generation, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have another question you'd like to ask?
No, I just wanted to add a few things about the coming events.
Okay. Let me just, we have a couple of minutes left, and just want to say thank you for your service. It's wonderful that former combat veterans like yourselves have come back to civilization, shall we say, and contribute your time, your presence, your intelligence, your experience to help those who have not been able to make the jump from the military to civilian life. Do you deal with many of these veterans at the advisory board in your neighborhoods?
So through our Veterans Office, we do deal with them. We have members on the board who are able to help us through their civilian jobs, getting housing for some of the veterans. We've set up different funds that we fundraise, so if there's a need for a veteran that isn't covered by Chapter 115 or any other state or federal funds, we have a fund that we can help that veteran get their car fixed, give them the down payment on an apartment and stuff like that. So we try and do what we can to help these local veterans.
That's great, but I'm thinking here more in terms of their psychological difficulties. PTSD is a terrible response trying to get back into civilian life. And there's other shall we say, physical abnormalities that take place. Is there room in your lives, your board or whatever, to help provide these services for those vets?
So we ourselves wouldn't provide the services, but we would get the access to the services, and that's what we would do. And we're starting, like Jim said, to deal with the suicide piece, and then once we can deal with that piece of it, then we can move on to the post-traumatic stress. A lot of veterans won't acknowledge that they have post-traumatic stress. No one wants to say that that they have issues. So a lot of these people are in the shadows. Some of them won't come forward. So and that's with the suicide also. So it's very difficult group to get together, but we do what we can through an education piece.
Well, I think many of them don't talk about it because they don't know they have it. And I didn't know I had it until I went to see somebody who pointed it out to me, and then you take steps to correct it.
Yes,
Yes, Jim.
but I'll bet your family recognized it. I bet your family recognized that you were errant behavior, although you wouldn't acknowledge it,
Perhaps.
I knew an infantry officer said, I didn't have any problems coming back. It's just I couldn't stand anybody standing behind me forever. I thought, well,
I think
that
my
can't
family
be.
recognized I was still crazy
Yeah,
from before the war.
well,
Our final moment here, Arthur will tell us about it.
Well, before I do that, we has a big holiday coming up Monday, gentlemen. We have Memorial Day coming up, and a lot of our veterans from Malden have gone to the cemetery, planted flowers, and put a flag next to the gentleman or lady that had passed away to protect our country. And as you mentioned, Jim, 22 million veterans living in the country today, and unfortunately 20 to 25 commit suicide every day. We're trying to lower that by taking care of the veterans, giving them better homes, giving them some shelter, giving them some monetary value when they come back. They don't have a wife, don't have any money. But it's sad when you see every day 15 to 20 commit suicide. And to end part of our show, this coming month, the month of June, Malden is very fortunate. We're having a state convention in Leominster, the Leominster area. And for the first time in their history, probably of the country, we have two women. One woman going in as state commander, and one woman going in state commander of the ladies auxiliary. Well, it's not ladies auxiliary, it's the auxiliary. But for the first time, two women from Malden going in as commanders of City of Malden, post Chapter 85. So we're very proud of that, and hopefully they'll do a fine job. And again, have a safe holiday, gentlemen.
Thank you, Arthur. We've completed today's program, and we look forward to seeing you all the next time.